Welcome to the best sports betting show on the planet. I'm Lawrence. Prez and Teddy Covers is my co-host. It's WagerTalk Today. We got an unbelievable lineup today. Tons of actionable betting information. Ralph Michaels will be joining us first. He's got two charts. Both are going to be incredible. One is on the MLB and another on college football. We also have Andrew McInnis. Some CFL coming your way. And we're going to end the show with Dave Mason. Dave is a bookmaker for BetOnline, one of the offshore books. We're going to dive deep into the election in America and the odds that they're giving out and the action they're taking, plus a lot of other questions. And guess who's back? And the question is he happy or miserable? Teddy Covers, how are you?
I'm miserable. How are you, Lawrence?
And we're going to talk about your misery and what did bettors learn?
We will. I'm particularly miserable this morning.
I'm very excited that you're miserable. Let's get it. Let's get going. Ralph Michaels, welcome, my friend. How's your summer been?
It is awesome. I am doing the Gold Sheet Top 25. I'm doing teams 17 and 18 today. And guess what, guys? The NFL Hall of Football game is 14 days away.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, people like football season. When's football season coming? Football season's here, 2 weeks. Exactly. At least the start of that. Sorry, Lawrence. Why don't you
don't worry about it.
All right. So, Ralph,
it's all good.
You put together a chart that I really want to look at, that I'm excited to spend some time with. Because the first game after the MLB All-Star break, it's like, where do you start? Do you want to be, what kind of teams do we want to be betting on? What kind of teams do we want to be betting against? And luckily, you've done some research to show us some long-term database numbers. I'm interested. I'm all ears. What do we got?
Well, since I wasn't looking at tomorrow's games, I had to bring some interesting MLB. So I did two charts. One is the first game after the All-Star break, and the second chart we'll show in a minute are teams with rest this season and how they've done. So the first game after the All-Star break, take a look and you'll see that since 2016, if you bet every home team that's on the top line in gray, despite being an average favorite of minus 121, those home teams have gone 45 and 58, 43.7% against the spread, minus 15.1 ROI. But take a look at the right. I did teams with a record of 500 or better. Actually, the winning percentage should be over 50%. The winning percentage for the teams at 50% are losing to the right. So if you're a team that's 50% or have a losing record at home, you're minus 24.8% ROI every game since 2016. Then I broke them down as a home favorite. I broke them down at home between the 130s, and then I broke them down as a home dog of 130. So if you look at teams as a home favorite of minus 130 and higher, you'll see that winning teams have had a positive ROI. Teams at 500 or losing teams are basically break even. But take a look at those last two columns. When you're at home between the 130s or a home dog of 130 or higher, it doesn't matter if you're a winning team or a losing team, all of those negative ROI situations with significant ROI percentages.
Teddy?
Yeah, I'm seeing like 8 games for tomorrow that fit into that category, Ralph. Where there's going to be a home favorite or a minus 130 or less, or a home dog. Is this the type of trend? Because the numbers and the ROI were really strong. Is this something that you would be willing to bet blindly at this stage? Just fade all of these teams at minus 130 or to up to an underdog? Would you do that blindly, given the strong success of this particular methodology coming right out of the All-Star break?
No, not blindly, but I'll tell you what, it certainly may get me on some teams. So it's close. By the way, the teams to fade in this situation: Miami, Toronto, Washington, the Cubs, Oakland, Colorado, and Texas. Teddy and Prez, I have one subset. How about this? When you look at those teams, I went back to 2014. But if you take those teams that have a win percentage of 50% or less, they are a dog or a small favorite, they're at home, and they won their last game before the All-Star break, so they have some positive effects going into the rest. Since 2014, those teams are 1-15 total, with an average line of plus 104. The teams that fit in that 115 mode: Toronto, Cubs, Oakland, Colorado, and Texas.
No, just real quick, Ralph. I mean, I'm seeing Seattle at minus 125. Again, there's variance on this, but Seattle's in that range. Didn't mention them. The Dodgers are in that range. Didn't mention them. The Guardians in that range. You talked about, is this the kind of thing that as the markets mature between today and tomorrow, we may have a whole bunch more teams on this list?
Well, Teddy, when I did the lines this morning, when I did my list, all the lines weren't posted yet because they just had started posting them. So that's my bad for not looking. So the list I had were the games that are posted. So again, I went through and I marked every game for tomorrow with a negative or a positive for the situation. So I'm sure, or I'm likely, that one of my games will come out of this because it is such a strong situation. We've talked about it often. You know, teams that won their last game, they go into the All-Star break happy. They're at home during the All-Star break. They're spending time with family and friends. They're out of their routine, and now they're still at home for their opening game. It makes total sense to me.
Ralph Michaels joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com, the best handicapping website on the planet by far, which is true, Teddy. I'm no hyperbole. No hyperbole, brother. And everyone saw it yesterday with our new member, Jeff. He did an incredible job, got some great feedback. And of course, well, Ralph sits on the Mount Rushmore of handicapping. Ralph, let's go to your next chart. It is a chart on rest. I love rest. We spoke about on Tuesday that I'm a really great thinker. Yesterday, I mentioned what a great lover I am. I am a professional napper. Rest is my thing, so I'm really looking forward to hearing about this chart.
On the left-hand side, you see they are sorted. This is the most profitable team, the Phillies and the Guardians, 1 and 2. Look at the bottom. Look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers are second last with rest. They're 7 and 9 with an average line of minus 177. That is eye-popping. And then if you look to the right, I did home with rest, away with rest, favorite with rest, dog with rest. And I highlighted the top 5 in green. There's red text for the bottom 5. So you can take a look at your situations. Again, I wanted to mention the Dodgers at 7 and 9 at the bottom. I will tell you this. Colorado is in that 1 and 15 system. They are also 1 and 9 with rest their last 10 games, averaging only 3 runs per game. The Reds, 3 and 5 at home, but 4 and 0 on the road. And the Rangers, the exact opposite. They're 6 and 3 at home with rest. They're 0 and 5 away with rest. I'll put both of these charts on Twitter at CalSportsLV, so you'll be able to dive into them a little deeper.
Ralph, just real quick. I mean, the first chart to me is very predictive. All right, it's something that goes on years worth of data, and you look at it and you go, we can look at this data and find meaning from it because there's enough of it, and clearly teams in this range are negative ROI teams in that first game out of the All-Star break. This rest chart to me, I wonder if it's equal. I don't think it's equally predictive, and I wonder if it's predictive at all. What's your take on this? We're getting a snapshot of the first half of the season. Do we expect to see, but the most profitable teams for the full season are at the top of the list, and obviously the worst team, the White Sox, at the very bottom of the list. Is this chart more likely to get back to a 50-50 range by the end of the year, or do you think that the days with rest or the record after rest is something that teams will continue to either achieve or underachieve over the back half of the campaign?
Teddy, I find rest to be pretty consistent if you look at the first half numbers and look at full season numbers. So while you may not think it's completely predictive, I look back at like the last 2 years at least, and the first half and the second halves, there weren't huge swings where a team was awesome in the first half and negative in the second half. I will say this, that I do look at rest situations. Marco brings this up often when teams are coming off a road trip and then at home and have rest. That is one situation where when I see bad teams in that role and the team is performing poorly in that role, that is probably the number one time that I look at rest, because that is a powerful tool. Fading a team off a long road trip at home with rest, and when that team is playing poorly with rest, if they're in the red in that home check mark, that is a situation that oftentimes I do almost blindly fade.
Ralph Michaels. Ralph, let's turn our attention to a college football bet. One you guys can all make right now. It's a futures bet, and it's on Texas A&M. Where are we going here?
Well, I want to show you the Texas A&M schedule while I explain this. I have Texas A&M projected to be a favorite in every game but the last game of the season against Texas. And Dan, do you have that the schedule, the Texas A&M schedule I threw in you with the lines? If you could pop that up if you get to it. There you go. So that's the schedule I made for Texas A&M with the projected lines from the Golchi Power Rating numbers. You see that in 7 games between the 8s, those are the grays. So 5 games are going to be a favorite to -14 to a favorite to -50. So let's give them 5 wins there. That means we need to get 4 more wins out of those 7 games. Well, at home, they're a 1-point favorite to Notre Dame, 3-point to Missouri, 2-point to LSU, 3-point dog to Texas. At Florida, they're a 6-point favorite. Auburn, a 4-point favorite. South Carolina, an 8-point favorite. I clearly think they can get 4 wins out of there. When I look at the team, did they underachieve last year? Did Jimbo Fisher deserve to get fired? Absolutely, with the talent they had. But they started 4 different quarterbacks, or started 3 quarterbacks, and then the quarterback got hurt after the first pass and had to come in the bowl. So they played 4 different quarterbacks. Wegman started 4 of the 5 games last year, was out for the year. I think he is going to be a fine starter. While they only returned 12 starters, they returned 38. They're number 38 in production, so they have a lot of depth. The number 2s and 3s played a lot. And despite their poor record, they were actually plus 74 yards per game in SEC action. That was number 5. And in all those close games, they had 4 close games last year where they were decided by 8 points or less. They went 0-4 in those games. That's a positive for me. Teams tend to bounce back. I'm a fan of head coach Elko. Give me over 8.5 for Texas A&M. You have to lay -120. That is a current line at DraftKings as of this morning.
Just real quick, Ralph, when you have the first-year head coach walking into what looks like a strong scheduling situation, like A&M has here, where they're likely to be, they're certainly not going to be big dogs in any game. But the pressure's not necessarily on the coach to win right now. Do you worry that Elko is going to be roster building as opposed to competing for an SEC title this year and looking forward to year 2 or year 3? Or is that really a non-factor?
I don't think so. I think he knows he has a talented team. And remember, he has A&M blood. He was the DC here under Jimbo Fisher for 3 years before he left to go to Duke, and now he's back. So, you have a coach that is invested in this program. He was there when Jimbo Fisher tried to start the program. I think that puts him at a different level coming back to coach at A&M.
Ralph Michaels, outstanding stuff. Texas A&M over 8.5 wins. Out of curiosity, I saw a -59 up there, and I know in college football there are just massive, massive numbers. Next time you come on, before college football starts, I'd like to delve into those kind of favorites because, where is that cutoff line, Ralph? Are teams at -40 covering more than they're not? What about -59? I mean, that is such a massive number. Are those good bets or bad bets? Because we see those type of numbers, although we don't see 59 very often. We see a lot of 35s and 39s, 38s. I'd love to delve into where that sort of cutoff line is on these massive favorites.
I'll bring it up, Prez. A couple weeks ago, you may have not been on the show. I was talking about big favorites week one. When you're playing an FBS team, those big favorites have done very well. They seem more focused. When you're playing an FCS team, it was under 50%. But I will break down those big favorites in week one and throughout the rest of the year. Because, it'll be interesting as well. The SECs like Alabama and LSU, they play an FCS team like week 11, game number 11, when they're a 50-point favorite. I'll look what those big favorites are relative to early in the year. So I will have that chart for you next Thursday. We'll talk about the big college football favorites.
What do you got going for the clients?
Folks, preseason, $99. The best deal there is. Since 2005, 65% on every preseason play. Sign up now. Again, Hall of Fame, 2 weeks away, WT.buzz/RM.
Ralph Michaels, everyone. Guys, you're watching Wager Talk Today. If you don't mind taking a second out of your day and hitting that like button, it would be greatly appreciated. 163,000 subscribers to this channel. We'd love some more. There's room on this train. So make sure to subscribe. Teddy Covers. Look, dude, I'm really impressed with you. I got a call out of the blue a couple of days ago. I think about 5 days ago. You decided to stop smoking, and you're inspiring because I smoke, and no one smokes more than you. I mean, chain smoking is literally where you were at, close to. I mean, you are. Anyway, you've quit cold turkey. You needed to be talked off a ledge a couple of nights ago. I tried to be there for you. How is it going? Congratulations. And I'm going to be right behind you, dude. I'm going to do it as well.
So how I spent my All-Star break, I'm trying to quit smoking. I had my first cigarette, Lawrence. I was thinking about it last night. It was like the spring/summer of 1981. My parents were getting divorced. I hated everyone and everything. It was 8th grade when I started smoking. And back then, I could buy them in cigarette vending machines, easy. We stole them from my friend's dad. He bought the carton. We'd steal a pack out of the middle, and we shoplifted them too. So I was a casual smoker all through high school. I really wasn't. I can't say I was addicted. I remember smoking on planes when I was like 15. That was really cool. It was when I went to Michigan, when I was in Ann Arbor, that I got addicted and started smoking all the time. Sophomore year, there were a bunch of us who smoked, and guys I still hang out with. That was the year I made lifelong friends who smoked. And they say, quitting smoking is easy. I've done it dozens of times. And I have. But it only took for me once in all these years. When Kara was pregnant, I successfully quit. And it was a lot of the nicotine gum, that Nicorette nicotine gum. Isaac was just a baby. And then I got some shockingly bad news one day, and I went and bought a pack, and that was that. I tried quitting one other time when he was young. I tried Chantix, nearly killed everybody. That wasn't the right method for me. And quitting smoking, you realize exactly why you smoke, to protect yourself from all the idiots around you. Grumpy is not even the word, beyond grumpy. But I've been thinking about it for a while. Dave Koken's illness certainly was a factor. The All-Star break is theoretically the lowest stress time of the year. My son's out of town for the next couple of weeks. I need a new car. The old one's smoky. That's a good motivator. A new clean car if I can do this for a week or two. So Kara lasted 3 days with me, maybe 4. Took a flight out of town. She's like, good luck, honey. I've been a bear. So I'm going public today. I'm keeping the pressure on myself, and maybe I can get another few healthy years at the back end, maybe not. It's worth trying. Thanks for your support. Now, here's the nicotine gum. Let me chomp. And that's how I spent my All-Star break, Lawrence. How about you?
So where are you at? Is it getting easier?
Not yet.
How are you sleeping?
And so I'm also, this is the first time I'm doing the show since I've quit smoking. I'm drinking caffeine for the first time. None of these are good things. They're all triggers. My whole life's a trigger. So I'm sure it's going to be tough, but I'm at a point mentally I'm ready to do it. So I will continue this endeavor. And if I'm a little grumpy, Lawrence, I appreciate your patience.
Teddy, sincerely, I know we give each other a lot of shit, but I'm really proud of you, man. It's a big
it's not there yet.
Deal.
Let's give it a week or
Teddy,
two.
the most important thing is that you're trying. Like obviously succeeding is crucial, but if you fail, you'll try again. And, and you're mentally there. So way to go. Andrew Wodge down to 5-6 cigarettes a day. Congratulations. That's good. If you started at 7, it's not great, but 20, way to go. Javier, he quit a year ago. Way to go, Javier. I love it, man. And I'm here. We'll talk anytime you need me. And I'm going to follow suit. Dan, do we have Andrew McInnis? Okay. Guys, we're going to leave Andrew till the end of the show if we have time for him. This is a big segment and one we're really, really excited about. Dave Mason will be joining us. He's joining us on the phone, so we'll not be able to see his handsome mug. Dave is a sports book. What's the word? I've gone blank. Teddy?
Why don't you ask him?
Okay, Dave, I've gone blank, dude. My Vegas trip has given me jet lag and brain cramps. Welcome to Wager Talk today. We're really, really excited to have you on.
Hey, thank you very much, and welcome to the club. My brain is blank from watching CNN and Fox and all these other news channels. I've watched more of this political stuff in the last 2.5 weeks than I think I have in the last 3.5 years, and man, it's crazy. But yeah, no, I guess I don't, sportsbook manager, sportsbook brand manager. I work more in the marketing side of things. I work with the stage, the guys, the odds guys close, but I'm more at technically the marketing side of things, but we work hand in hand. So I work with all the odds, especially the political stuff. I'm all over it.
Yeah, listen, it's funny. I was talking to somebody last night, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. It's fascinating times we live in. I'm 55 years old, and normally I'm watching television shows, sporting events. Now I can't get the news off. I'm watching it all, dude. I am soaking up news. It is the most fascinating times I've ever lived in.
It is. I mean, I tweeted out yesterday, like the House of Cards has nothing on what the hell's going on in front of us now. I mean, if this was season 6 or season 7 of the House of Cards, I'd be like, this isn't plausible, man. It's time for this show to end. But it's playing out. I hate politics. Personally, I hate politics. I've always never liked politics at all. But this is fascinating. I mean, the betting makes it fun. I mean, it really does. I mean, you always talk about how, a lot of people just bet to make the game fun. It's like an entertainment wager. It's a form of entertainment. And this is a perfect example for me, at least, because if it wasn't for the betting and my job and being fascinated by the market, I would tune out because it's not my cup of tea, all the politicians and everything. But man, it's something else. I'm glued to the TV. I couldn't even tell you what the heck is going on in the world anymore.
We've got extended time today with Dave Mason from BetOnline AG. Dave, I had the pleasure of spending a memorable night with you in San Jose, Costa Rica. Me, you, and Matt Holt. We were watching UFC that night. It was a pleasure and a half. That was years ago. Let's not bury the lead for today. What are the odds right now for the 2024 presidential election?
Right this second, and they could change by the time I finish this answer this question, man. But Trump is minus 250. Yesterday was minus 300, so that's come down a little bit. Kamala, she's plus 280. She was 12-1 yesterday, and Biden plus 850. He was plus 325 yesterday. And again, yesterday the big event. Every other day there's some big event that happens. And of course, yesterday was the positive COVID test. As far as our needs there, Trump is actually a huge win for us right now, and Kamala's a big loss, and Biden's a huge loss. So we're Trump fans from a liability standpoint at the moment. I think that will change, though.
You're listening to Wager Talk today. We have Dave Mason from BetOnline.ag with us. If you've never heard this show before, we're on every day, 12 p.m. Eastern to 1 o'clock. Teddy and I are the co-hosts. We give out a ton of incredible sports betting information. David, keeping with what we're talking about, let's talk about the markets that you guys are offering. Obviously there's a lot more than just whether Trump will win or Kamala or, Biden. I was looking through the website earlier today, and I mean, you've got bets up there for Michelle Obama. You've got head-to-head bets. Tell us the options available to the clients. And out of curiosity, which ones are the ones that are seeing the most action?
Well, the biggest action, are the ones that we just talked about, the presidential, but now the Democratic nominee. I mean, now that's in play again, right? The pre-debate is like, a little action here and there. Some people thinking Biden will eventually, but now it's a hot ticket again. I mean, we're getting just as much, if not more, action on the Democratic nominee the last 2.5 weeks than we have on the presidential election. And Harris is now the -170 favorite to win the Democratic nominee. Biden's +180. Yesterday, they were -800 for Biden, +800 for Harris. That's been on the move big time since yesterday. But the hypotheticals are good. Trump versus different names. Trump is -225 versus Harris +160. Trump -300 versus Biden +200. And then some other names. Another popular market, Biden to withdraw before the convention. Last I looked at, this has changed about an hour ago, is -160 yes, no, +120. That's definitely moved. That's higher now. And also the stuff that just pops up, like the debate props were huge. And now we have Trump's convention speech tonight. Length is over under 69.5 minutes. Stuff like, what is he going to say first? Crooked Joe Biden, -150. Laughing Kamala, +225. Sleepy Joe +450. Crooked Hillary pays out at 14-1. So, whenever there's something, we have a great team of marketers and odds guys, and we are all into this political stuff. It's a huge betting market, so we go full board, man. We offer as much as possible.
Dave Mason, BetOnline.ag on WagerTalk Today. If you like this type of commentary, we appreciate the likes, we appreciate the follows very much. Let's talk about a little election history. 2016 election night, I watched it live. Trump went from an 8-1 dog to like an 8-1 favorite in an hour. Talk to me about that night. What was that like, booking that?
Oh, it was crazy. And part of the craziness, I mean, that was like, I think, I've been doing this since the early 2000s, and that was the first election where, action really went through the roof. And, a lot of live action. I'm sure Trump had a big part of that, right? Anytime there's, controversy and one side hating the other, it doesn't matter if it's the Yankees, Red Sox, or, whatever big rivalry, Ohio State, Michigan, whatever. As there's more controversy, more heated, and more trash talk, you're going to get more eyeballs, and which equals more action. So the action was absolutely through the roof. The exit polls indicated Clinton. All the polls indicated Clinton. But Trump just started redrawing the map. Florida started moving to Trump, which, back then was always more or less a toss-up. He overperformed in Virginia, then Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin started declaring. And, everybody just underestimated the Rust Belt, that Trump was going to dominate the Rust Belt like that. And, Clinton, she just ran such a horrible, of course, hindsight's 2020, but looking back on it, just a horrible campaign. And she ignored that Rust Belt, and that was the dagger right there. So it was a loser for the House. We needed Clinton that night. It was a loser for the House, but we got it back in 2020.
Dave, couple of quick questions for me before we throw back to Teddy. First one, real quick, not on our list. Was there a line for an assassination attempt?
No. We do a lot of crazy stuff, but that's just it's a little overboard. We don't want to take action on anybody getting. We even if it's a world dictator, we won't even touch that. So we kind of held off on stuff like that.
Guys listening to this show, to give you perspective of political betting, and I know in America, especially if you're using the books that are in country, the DraftKings, the FanDuels, etc., political betting on the U.S. Election is illegal, and I get that. But so you understand the enormity of this, 2020 election, biggest betting event in BetOnline's history, bigger than the Super Bowl. Dave, did that shock you? Tell us about that night, the two-way action that came in, or the liability. I mean, I had no idea that a political betting would rival and surpass Super Bowl betting.
Neither did I. I mean, shoot, 5-6 years ago, you would have told me that. I would have been no way, even though 2016 was huge. But, 2020, it was crazy, man. And like at the time, that was the biggest betting day, most actives, most action we've ever done in the history of BetOnline. This is the biggest betting event in the history of BetOnline. Since a couple of Super Bowls have exceeded that, we should break that this year. I think a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines to kind of see what pans out on the Democratic side of who's going to be the nominee. So once they decide on a nominee there, I think we'll see a lot more action coming in. So we're a little bit behind 2020, but I think we'll overtake it once that settles. The night itself, it was nuts. It was a big winner for the House. We needed Biden big. The sharps were on Biden. Public was on Trump. We all know how the odds are going all over the place, and Trump was favored in some states, and then he ended up losing those states. But there were so many other factors. I mean, that was the COVID year too, right? I mean, all the mail-in ballots and stuff we learned too. I mean, people think we just know everything, and it's like those states. It's like we didn't really know that they're going to count those ballots back, the whatever the mail-in ballots last. And of course they're going to go to Biden and yada, yada, yada. So it was nuts. It was nuts for us, but the right side for the House definitely won that night.
So I have a book right here. It's called Roll the Bones by David Schwartz. I think it's the name. What's his name? David Schwartz. Yeah, David Schwartz. It's a history of gambling. Like from the Egyptian time, like a world history, and it talked about how big election betting was in the U.S. in like the 1800s, that it was the single biggest betting event. People would go crazy betting on the presidential elections. What do you think 2024 is going to be like? Is this going to be even bigger?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Like I said, I think, we're a little bit behind what we were in 2020. But I think a lot of people are kind of sitting on the sideline. Well, if you just take the market of president, then we're a little bit behind. But you take the market of like the Democratic nominee, and this is surpassing what we did in 2020. So there's a lot of moving parts here, right? You bundle it all up, we're ahead. But for the presidential odds, I mean, it's crazy, the action coming in. But I think a lot of people are still sitting on the sidelines a little bit to wait to see how the Democratic nominee. Once they settle there, people make their play more on Trump or anti-Trump, I believe. And I think the Trump bettors are kind of waiting a little bit longer too. His odds are a little bit higher now. So, I think they're waiting for him to come down, which I believe they will.
We're talking with Dave Mason, BetOnline AG. And of course, if you like this type of comments here on WagerTalk Today, give us a like, give us a comment, and we appreciate all the subscriptions, more than 160,000 of you following the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Let's talk about BOL's clientele, or in general. I mean, do sports bettors run Democrat or Republican? What's the skew in your estimation? And for your particular clientele, do you think that you fit the broader pattern? Does your clientele skew one way or the other? And if it does, do you have to adjust the numbers at all in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure. It's not one of those things we put on our law sign up form. So we're not asking for your date of birth, your phone number and your political affiliation. So this is just a guess. I think it's an educated guess. It's definitely more Republican. I would say 60 to 70%. And again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty that's what my guess would be, 60 to 70%. What was the second part of that question,
Dave,
Teddy? I'm sorry. Was there a second part of that?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask, but here, I mean, it's kind of like I'm stealing Lawrence's follow-up. But when you talk about if you're slightly skewed Republican,
okay, yeah, right.
Does it affect how you set and move the numbers?
I mean, I guess if they're betting that way, right? I mean, you're always going to move a little bit off action, but a little bit in that way. But we don't like foresee it. We don't like our bettors are 70% Republicans, so we better add 20-cent juice onto Trump. Now it doesn't work that way. Now if the action comes in that way, we'll move it. And like I said, it really hasn't yet on this election. But how we set the numbers, it's our opinion. We have guys that pay a lot of attention to this. We have our guy who's our main political guy. He's a historian. He knows everything about every darn election. He's actually located in the UK, but he knows that he follows every election on the planet Earth, man. He can ask him what the hell's going on in Uganda, and I'll tell you. So it's incredible. But so we have a bunch of opinions, sharp action, of course, the public action, polls, right, which kind of hand in hand with opinion. It just, and we also pay attention to our competitors, whether other sports books or exchanges. You kind of still have to stay. Yeah, I mean, guys that say, "Oh, we don't pay." Some of these books, BS. We all kind of look at each other. We all have to look. Why wouldn't you? Especially some of the more respected books. Why wouldn't you? The data's out there. Oh, this book moved. We respect them. Well, what's going on here? Now we might not be identical, but we're still gonna bake our opinion in and what we think. With that being said, we're definitely going to take what other books and exchanges are doing as well. 100%.
Dave Mason joining us. Guys, you're watching Wager Talk today. We're on every day, Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. We are genuinely regarded by me as the best daily sports betting show on the planet. We just had some breaking news come in, Dave. Former President Barack Obama has told allies in recent days that President Biden's path to victory is greatly diminished. Duh. And he thinks the president needs to seriously consider the viability of his candidacy. Listen, Captain Obvious, thanks, Obama. Are the lines moving as we speak?
Oh, boy. They probably are. I mean, you can't keep up with this, man. It's crazy, but they'll move on that too. I'm sure another 20 cents or at least. I mean, it's nonstop. I mean, all these big events happen and they move back, but I mean, I've been saying for a while Biden's done. So from a betting perspective, I need him gone. No political. I'm not going to share any of my political beliefs. I don't do that in public. But from a betting perspective, I want him gone. I need to make some money.
Well, let's
talk
brother,
about how these markets have been moving. All right.
What's that?
Because the markets.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Lawrence.
Go ahead.
Okay. We've been talking about how the markets are moving right now. Let's talk about, because the markets, over the last couple of months, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened. I want to ask how the markets moved. So Trump got convicted on the 34 felony counts. Did the money come for Trump then, or Biden, or no action?
Before the felony accounts, before Trump was minus 165. Yeah, convicted, right. Trump minus 165, Biden plus 130. After Trump minus 120, Biden plus 110. It crept back up though, man. I told the guys, let's keep it the same. Let's make Trump minus 175. It's not going to mean anything for the betting market, but so it crept back up. It went down like that, then it crept back up.
And Biden's
Some of our
debate
viewers,
how much
Teddy,
did that
one
affect the
sec.
markets?
Teddy?
Yeah.
Sorry. Dave, one of our viewers logs in every day in our chat live. Really appreciate all of these guys who do that. He wants to know if you're also taking bets on who'll win the states.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have them all up right now. They let me click on there. State betting. Yeah. For Pennsylvania, for instance, we have Republicans minus 200. Take back on Dems is plus 150. Wisconsin, Republicans minus 190. So we have about 6 states up there. We're going to have more, actually. Thanks for the reminder. I was going to hit my political guy today and ask to add some more, but we have 6 states up there right now.
Teddy?
So we were talking about how the markets have been moving. We talked about how the money initially came for Biden after the Trump conviction on the 34 felony counts. And then Biden put, one of the ugliest debate showings you'll ever see. talk about that night, how the markets moved.
Right. Debate. Yeah, sure. Before debate, Trump was minus 150. Take back on Biden was plus 130. Then after, Trump went to minus 185. Biden plus 350. And then, like, numerous Democrats started getting shorter, like Michelle Obama. Newsom was the biggest back then. Kamala a little bit. She wasn't making that much noise right away, but Newsom was the biggest drop. And then Michelle Obama was getting bet. And a little bit of Whitmer, and nothing much on Kamala at that point, but ever since then.
And then the failed assassination attempt. How much did that move the number? Was that a big move or not so much?
Let's see. Yeah, it was. And again, I'm giving you the general after numbers because they did bounce around a little bit, an hour after, 2 hours, the midnight, so I'm giving you kind of the general after the kind of dust settled. Not that it's ever settling, but before Trump was minus 175, Biden plus 325, Kamala plus 425 after the failed assassination attempt. Thank God. Trump minus 300. Biden plus 550. That bounced back down to 375 the next day. Then Kamala plus 800.
And last
Dave
but not
Mason,
least, the
Teddy,
JD Vance
you want to keep
factor.
going? JD Vance.
Yes, Lawrence, as I texted you, as we're going. So have the markets moved at all this
JD
week?
Vance,
Yeah.
JD Vance. I mean, they've moved this week, sure, but not because of JD Vance. That's a nothing burger. It didn't matter who he's going to take.
Okay, Teddy, I got one last question. Go ahead, Dave.
But the big one is the COVID. I mean, that was a big event yesterday. So I just want to add that before he got Biden diagnosed with COVID, Trump minus 175, Biden plus 325, Kamala 12-1. Now Trump minus 250, Biden 8-1, and Kamala plus 280. So that was a big one yesterday, of course.
Guys watching Wager Talk today, we are going to run a little late. Andrew McInnis is still in the wings. He's got 2 CFL bets. We will get him on quick at the end of the show. Dave, I have one more question in regards to the election, and I hope we have a moment to talk NFL with you as well. I'll leave that with Teddy. My question to you is, if you had one single actionable bet that you can make today in regards to the 2024 election, what would it be?
Today, I mean, I'll still back Biden coming out. I mean, I don't know what the price is now. I think we just took it off the board, but it was minus 175 that he's gonna pull out before the convention, and I was betting that at plus money. So, that would still be my bet. But like I said, we just took that off the board. It looks like within the last hour. Might have been that Obama tweet. Who knows? He's done. He's done. No, I've been calling him for a year. He's done. I mean, he's just. There's no shot. Go ahead. Sorry, Ted.
That's all right, Dave. As we were talking, as we were discussing these questions, you sent me a note back. You said generally odds move with the polls. It's one part of the equation, and to me that's fascinating. What other parts of the equation are there? And is setting the odds as simple as just getting accurate polling info and then checking out what the rest of the markets are?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's ever anything since accurate polling info. I mean, it's all kind of some's better than others, but none of it's 100%. I mean, that's part of the equation. That's like I said earlier. We base it off polling, we base it off action, we base it off our own opinions. I think we have some guys that pay attention to this stuff a lot. Like I said, our one guy, he's a historian. This is his life is different markets, different political odds. I'm paying attention to it nonstop. The action, especially the sharp action, and just the news that comes in and comparing to other markets around the world, we do not ignore them as well. We want to stay kind of within range. We don't want to be too far off from other markets.
So I know Lawrence does want to ask you NFL. I'm going to ask you one last political question, and it comes down to this. And the answer may be, I don't know. But where do you see the markets moving from here?
Man, it's a tough one, especially this one, because every day there's some new freaking drama, dude. I mean, it's what the hell is next? I mean, what the hell is next? We went from an assassination attempt to a positive COVID test. I mean, I don't know what the hell to think. But anything could happen. But if Biden goes out and Kamala is the nominee, I don't see how they're going to select anybody but Kamala. I think the odds were shortened. I don't think she can beat Trump. But the odds will definitely shorten. They're not going to be too high for Trump. They just won't be. They got what, minus 250 now. I think that will actually come down a little bit, to tell you the truth. Which I think I'd have to bet Trump if it's minus 200 or lower against
I know
Kamala.
I will.
Yeah, good.
I'm sitting up in Canada, and please drop to minus 200. Dave Mason joining us from BetOnline. Dave, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you don't have this information handy, I understand, but let's talk really quick some NFL, and let's just focus on futures. What is, if you know the over and under win-loss, is there any team that is getting a really great action? And also maybe who you're seeing for winning it all this year?
All right, so over or under win totals, season win totals. Our biggest I'll read off some of our biggest liabilities. Cardinals over 6.5, Colts over 8.5, Chargers over 8.5, Bears over 8.5, I believe that is. So those are our biggest liabilities. Those are the ones we lose the biggest on. As you notice, they're all overs, which is usually kind of they bet overs on. The public doesn't only bet overs on the game total, but they also bet them on season wins. As far as the most popular bet, Steelers is the most popular bet, over 8.5 by far. I mean, there's twice as many bets on the Steelers as there are the next most popular team, which is the Cowboys, under 10.5, Cards over 6.5, Falcons under 9.5, and Vikings over 7.5. As far as Super Bowl liabilities, Packers, big liability, 14-1, Lions 12-1, Chiefs 5-1, Eagles go Birds 12-1, Dolphins 25-1, and the Jets 20-1. So those are our biggest Super Bowl liabilities.
Dave, I'm going to throw to Teddy right after this, but we're getting a lot of people in the chat room saying comments like, "We need Dave on weekly." Listen, we would love to have you on a regular basis. We don't need to discuss this now on air, but outstanding segment. I cannot thank you enough for taking time to join us. Please, let's try figure out a regular spot for you. Teddy?
Dave, before we let you go, let me let you promote, my friend. What do you have going at betonline.ag right now?
Yeah, betonline.ag. Come on. We have the biggest, we're talking politics. We have the biggest and largest offering of political odds. No one beats our odds. They're there, and we're adding more and more every day. We have the big speech tonight. So we have, if you want to bet on that, come on over. We have a ton of markets for the speech. Reload bonuses, everything, man. We have a great VIP program with some of the earliest opening odds. Football season around the corner. Baseball season right now. We have great dime lines. A lot of books aren't offering dime lines anymore, but we are. So we got it all, man. We try to check as many boxes as anybody. Some books specialize in sharp players, some recreational players. We try to check as many boxes as any book out there.
Dave Mason from BetOnline, everyone, and we'll be talking to Dave off air about becoming a regular, adding him to the roster with Art and Sherapan and the rest of them. We just want the show better and better every day. Dave, thank you, my friend. Kick ass. And I hope everything falls right for you on this election. Teddy Covers, we got to keep this show moving. We're running right out of time. Andrew McInnis joining us, 2 CFL bets. This is a sport Andrew is exceptional at. Andrew, there'll be no follow-up questions. We're really out of time here. Give both your bets out, and then Teddy will take us home.
Give one on. I'll ask you the other. It's okay.
Nah.
Do one game at a time. So you can clip.
Guys,
absolutely.
Really sorry about earlier. Very sorry about earlier. Happy to be here now, though. Winnipeg, Blue Bombers, Saskatchewan, Roughriders. Look, to me, this is a type of spot here and a play where you have a team that overachieved to start the season versus a team that underachieved to start the season. And you take a look at Saskatchewan, the teams that they defeated, guys, earlier in the year were winless teams. They weren't beating anyone that was good. They played Hamilton twice. They played the Elks once. They were knocking off teams that weren't good. Now they have their starting QB out and injured. First week, the backup covered. Last week, I bet against him for a 5% play. He got crushed. To me, this number is very puzzling, guys. This, to me, should be the number if their starting quarterback is in. With the backup quarterback, -3.5, I feel is a discount. Saskatchewan's one of the worst teams against the pass in the entire league. The best bet here in this game is backing Winnipeg on a roll right now, and they're starting to pick up steam.
Andrew McInnis says, expect a rough game for the Roughriders. Winnipeg minus the points is the play, and there is some urgency there right now. 3.5 still widely available. That being said, the leading indicator books are already up to 4 on this ball game. Let's talk about one for Sunday, July 21st, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock on the East Coast, and that would be the BC Lions and the Calgary Stampeders. Looking at the free WagerTalk live odds screen right now, I see BC -4.5 total, 52.5/53. What do you want to do with the Lions and the Stampeders on Sunday night in Canada?
Teddy, some teams might not know how to win games, but they might know how to cover point spreads. That's the deal with the Calgary Stampeders, holding a 2-3 record straight up on the season. However, they have been point spread covering machines as they are 4-1 ATS. If I'm getting more than a field goal with this Calgary Stampeders team at home, I want to bet on them. And to me, this BC Lions team right now, their offense has looked very impressive, no doubt about it, but their defense has looked very leaky. And when I look at this combo here between a Calgary team that has been a backdoor covering machine, a team that fights until the very end, and a BC team that always seems to give up the big play late in games, it's a recipe for success if you're a Calgary bettor. Right now, this BC team has been all over the place. They've been traveling to the eastern part of Canada, back to the West Coast, road game, back at home. Last week, they absolutely crushed the Roughriders. To me, this one's going to be a little more challenging, a little bit tougher here. They're playing a Calgary team that's only getting better and better all throughout the season. And like I said, that 4-1 ATS number, I understand 4.5 is a lot lower than the 7.5s and 8.5s they've been getting, and that's why they've been covering point spreads. But to me, there's only one way to go here, and it's taking the dog. It's been covering point spreads all year so far. We're going to back Calgary this week, guys, in week 7.
What do you got to promote, my friend?
17-4, 5% run with the CFL plays. It's going really well with those. We're up 30 units on 4 and 5% plays combined over the last handful of plays. And I got a big play going this weekend on Saturday. So, guys, I cannot wait for it. CFL is only picking up. And really, I think this is the time of year where you start making the most money in the CFL. You can start betting on these overreactions.
Yeah, guys, I cannot stress enough how important it is to be betting the CFL. Between Andrew and Jesse and the rest of the guys that do Canadian football, it is a sport that has always made money, a sport that's always gotten you ready, built your bankroll in time for college and NFL. It's one of the easiest sports to beat. So don't sleep on Canadian football. Andrew, thanks for joining us, brother. And no worries about your new computer and not getting on in time, etc. The show worked out really well. Huge thanks to Ralph Michaels, Dave Mason from BetOnline, and Andrew McInnis. Teddy Covers. Me and you again tomorrow. Take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the Thursday edition of WagerTalk Today. Like Lauren said, we'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast. Noon for you back east. Between now and tomorrow, well, there aren't that many games, but if you have some, enjoy them. And best of luck with all your bets.